Welcome, everyone. You are about to embark on a journey through the universe as you indulge in this extraordinary essence of enlightened, empowered, evolved. Let the show begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Just in time. Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved, where we educate, motivate, and liberate you through enlightening dialogues, empowering music, and evolving content. I'm excited yet again because my next extraordinary guest helps individuals and organizations harness the power of resilience. He says his message goes beyond survival. It's about reclaiming identity and integrity in adversity. He also says resilience is an act of self-assertion and radical love, a testament to transforming suffering into strength. And there's a whole lot more, but I want to get right to it. Allow me to introduce to you Ken Miller. How are you doing today, Ken?
I'm doing wonderful, Luke. Just looking forward to our conversation, and thank you for the opportunity to share.
Absolutely. And thank you for being here. I just want to extend my sincerest gratitude to you for being here at this present moment, for deciding to spend some of your valuable time, a moment of your valuable time here on Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. Thank you very much for being here, sir.
My pleasure.
Yes. So let's just get right into it. A lot of things caught my eye with you and your information. And I would like you to share with us, give us a little insight on it is a little brief insight on your story. Just Ivy League college, homelessness, incarceration, success with business. I know that's a lot, but let us in a little bit.
Sure. And hopefully there'll be areas that will resonate with the audience, and they'll be able to hear parts of my story and say, yeah, I've been there, or I've done that, or I've had that type of anguish or pain. Because a lot of my story is about pain. That's my past. Today, it's a beautiful, beautiful life I live. So real simple, I'm 63 years old. I was born in 1962. My mother was a runaway white female, Irish background in New York City. And she had run away, and she ran into my father, who was a black pimp and drug dealer in 1962 in New York City. I'm the byproduct of that union, you could say. And what happened was I was put up for adoption at birth. And so I did 6 years of foster homes. And by the time that I was adopted, I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't tell time, I couldn't even tie my shoes at age 6, first grade, because the foster homes weren't teaching that, or that wasn't, I kept going to all these different foster homes. I get adopted by Irene and Sam Miller. I lived in upstate New York. And then at age 12, we moved, my mother and I originally moved to Anchorage, Alaska. So I tell most people I grew up in Alaska, because I did. Went to junior high, high school. I was precocious as a child. My mom taught me to read that first summer, fell in love with reading. And by the time I was 17, I was a National Merit Scholar. I was accepted to Harvard. I went to Dartmouth College, Ivy League. And unfortunately, I graduated from college with a degree in fraternity with a minor in drinking. That's what I graduated from.
Wow.
And that was my Ivy League degree. I got out, went to treatment the first time, 1984, 21 years old, went into the corporate world for a couple of years, and then I relapsed, and I was to spend the next 20, 21 years homeless, incarcerated, in treatment, in jail, prison, or in a halfway house, three-quarter way house, but predominantly in the missions and in abandoned homes, abandoned cars, but living on the streets as a street level alcoholic and crack addict. And then in '04, I got arrested for sales of a $10 rock of crack cocaine. And as a black man, I was sentenced to 6 years. And, you can say as a black man, we'll go into that a little bit, but really as a 3-time felon, they were tired of my act. And I was told I was going to get the habitual criminal statute in the state of Nevada, which the judge promised me 25 to life. Promised me. Next time you come in on a felony, 20 to life. If I had stole $50, that's a felony in the state of Nevada, I would have gotten 25 to life. So I did 3 years, but I made a lot of changes that third time I went down. And the byproduct of that is I got out with at least a foundation. I'm clean, I was sober, and my brain was opened up. Let me see, my cognitive abilities were opened up, but they were nowhere near. So that was 2007. I got out of prison. And then 2009, I moved back up to Anchorage, Alaska from Nevada. And by 2014, I started my first company. I own four companies now. I'm very successful in many measurements of success.
Wow.
But the most important thing, and probably the most important thing, is two things. I am comfortable with my relationship with God,
Mm.
number one. And number two, I'm comfortable in my relationship with myself. I am not in an adversarial relationship with self. I don't talk to myself negatively. I don't do things to hurt myself because I used to play judge, jury, and executioner. It's a term we used to have on the streets where, we had to get into a situation and we played the judge, the jury, and the executioner.
Mm.
And I would do that to myself. I would physically hurt myself, emotionally, try to commit suicide twice. I mean, just the things that we do when we're in the depths of our addiction. It's not even the addiction, we're in the depths of the self-hatred
Right.
and the depths. Because for many people, the reason that we attempt suicide is not because we want to die, it's because we want the pain to
Mm.
ameliorate. We want the pain to lessen. It's too painful, our present existence. And that's the best thing we can do to stop the pain of just everyday life. So I was in that position on more than one occasion. And but today, and we'll talk maybe a little bit more about this, I'm well. And
Right.
again, I
Right.
have employees, I have contractors that work for me. I do a lot in different communities.
Right.
And again, what I am is I'm comfortable with self. I'll end with this. I can't wait to wake up in the morning. I
Wow.
can't wait to get up. And I get up like 4:35 so I can get to it because I do a lot of things.
Wow.
And it's a beautiful place to be. It's a beautiful place to be. I'm also, let me just put this out. I'm a husband. I'm a father-in-law, grandchildren. They'll be here. May jump into the room here in a second. But I have family. I have faith. I have friends. And I have, again, a relationship with God that modifies my behavior. That's probably the most important part of that. And it's something that I talk about often. And so resilience is the comeback from the setback. And I've had a lot of setbacks,
Right.
but nothing that I'm not competent to deal with today. And not nearly the magnitude of the setbacks I had for 20, 21 years.
Wow. Thank you, Ken, for that amazing peak and also example of just true being a hero, not, not only by example, just a hero to yourself, a hero. Just I use that word hero when it comes from someone when someone gets through things and they're still here, And
Mm.
one thing that, well, a lot of things stood out, but one thing that specifically really resonates with me is you talk about the success that you have, but you really nail it down with the foundation of being at peace with God, being at peace with yourself. And I think that's the most important thing because you can go through anything, claim this and that, monetary, whatever, house, this, businesses. If you don't like yourself, none of that matters. That and health. So that's amazing that you love waking up every day. And I'm just giving my perspective. That's very important because I've spent and this is about you, but just for context, I've spent a great deal of my life trying to really like myself, just
Mhm.
finding out all these reasons why not to, where I came from, the decisions that I made, and finally getting, and I say getting because it's still work in progress, to a point where I'm just really enjoying myself, just really enjoying who, when I look in the mirror, just really liking that face that I see. And and I know that that everything that has happened is all part of that story and of who I am. So I'm embracing it in its entirety. So that is amazing. And thank you for sharing that and being an example of what that is. I would like to hear more of how
Yeah.
through your adversities, through your life, how you could help. What words would you have, you
Oh,
know,
no problem on
yes,
that.
for people to help get there, or people that are going through this, or people that, yes, I want to hear more of your inspiration, motivation, encouragement.
So you mentioned two things I want to touch
Okay.
on. One of the things that I share, I can also say almost the word teach. So I mentor Black men all over the country
Okay.
for free.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
one of the ways I give back. I've been doing that for 15 years. I've had a lot of life experience that I can talk to, and I also have a lot of empathy for my fellow Black man.
Mm,
One of the things I say to them is try not to speak from the viewpoint of victim or hero.
mm, okay.
Speak from as a child of God. Speak as an individual that has a truth, an experience, circumstances, events, but I'm neither the hero nor the victim because for years I talked about as a victim. I'm a victim of the system, a victim of the judge, victim of the cops, victim of my disease,
Right.
victim, victim, victim. And then I went through a period of hubris, ego, where I was the hero. Look what I've accomplished. Look
Right.
what I've done.
Right.
Look, dot, dot, dot. And now I just share my truth. And then the other thing that yeah, I heard you mention, you said something to the effect that it's about you.
Right.
It really isn't about me.
Okay.
What it's about is the listener hearing me speak, and then you go inside and evaluate what is the legitimacy of what this man is saying?
Right.
How does this relate to me? What can I take from this conversation or this sharing or this expressed truth that will help me in my journey or change? And I talk about this all the time, my self-talk. How do I change my self-talk? So when it comes down to self-esteem, and I have very, very strong self-esteem.
Mm,
But to get there, I had to do things. I had to overcome things. I had to come back from tremendous trauma. I don't even like that word trauma.
right.
And I'm going to stop that word. Tremendous pain.
Right.
It's about pain.
Mm,
Okay. And almost everything is connected in life to pain.
right.
And
Right.
how do you interpret it? How do you deal with it? How do you overcome it
Right.
in the past, present, and future? Okay. Your dealings with pain. And once I understood that pain is a gift, it's a gift from God. I understood that, but it took me decades to understand that.
Mm,
You know, there are people that are born that can't feel pain. They
mm,
genetically they cannot feel pain.
right.
And they usually end up with lots of injuries or they die because they can't express that I just broke my leg. Or they can't express I'm hurting here because they have no pain. They can't feel pain. What a gift we have to feel pain. And what do it and it also it warns us because we get this emotional pain from dealing or being in this relationship with this person. I need to extricate myself. I need to remove myself. So I've had to look at a lot of issues that created a tremendous amount of pain. So let me just go into a real quick one. My life from the age of, I'd say 7 until 54, 55 was about fear. On the streets, I woke up. The first emotion I would feel is fear
Mm,
because I owed drug dealers. I always had a warrant out for my arrest.
mm.
I've done things to hurt people, and if they find me, it's not going to be a good situation. I've ripped off people, all that kind of stuff we do on the streets. Okay.
Right.
So, what is fear? Fear, very simply, is the future anticipation or expectation of pain. That's all fear is. Whether it's a millisecond or a year later when you get your death penalty date. I bunked with a guy who was on death row. I'll never forget him. He had been down 26 years. He had death penalty, then he got life without, and then he got life with.
Wow.
And that's why he could be bunking with me, because now he has life with the opportunity of parole. But he only went up once every 5 years and he got dumped. I'll never forget that. And he was not a happy camper when he came back.
Wow.
But I never found out to this day what he did. I already know, quote unquote, I know what gets you to death penalty. But anyway, he has a date. Anybody on death row has a date. And it doesn't mean it's absolutely going to happen. Or, you got a fear of dying. But let me just talk about fear real quick. So I have the future anticipation or expectation of pain. And then one of the most important things when I'm working with people or talking with them is we talk in what's called antithesis, or better known as what is opposite. Because I'm always about what is the solution. Yeah, I can talk to you all day about terrible things that happen to me on the streets or in the penitentiary, all day. But what is that? That's just stories. And you'll feel sympathy or empathy or, man, he's had a tough life. And you move on down. But I'd rather also talk about what are the solutions that have allowed me to let go of fear. So I've let go of fear, I've let go of shame, and I've also let go of resentment. I have none at
Wow.
this point. And sometimes fear will pop back up, but it's light, again, on the scale of 1 to 10.
Right.
But let me just talk about fear. I feared my father, who was an alcoholic, so badly. I tell people the fear was you could cut it with a knife. It's called palpable. It
Mm,
was so thick, the fear, and for good reason. For good reason. He shot my mom 6 times, so
mm,
I had to deal with that. Watching my mother. But the deal was this. So he shoots my mother. He comes to shoot me, but the gun jams at
mm.
my job. This is in 1985. And I went to the hospital, dealt with my mom on pre-op. Never forget that. And what it created was what we call really a binary, which is all I had was one emotion, which was hatred,
Right.
rage, toward my father.
Mm,
And I couldn't live with that. I couldn't live successfully with that. I'm not going to say, and I'm not a believer in antecedents to go into a drug addiction. I don't. That's not the way I look at drug addiction because this happened to me as a child. That's why I'm a crack addict. No,
right.
I
Right.
chose to smoke crack and became addicted to crack.
Mm,
And then I've had all these things were antecedents or preceding my first time I smoked crack. But I was an alcoholic. I had my first drink my freshman fall, October. And by December, I'm a full-blown alcoholic,
mm.
meaning I cannot control the amount I drink once I start. No, no way.
Wow.
Within a month and a half of my first beer. Okay.
Mm,
So I'm addictive, my brain, the serotonin, the neurotransmitter. But let's go back. So I had to end up dealing with this situation with my father. And one of the things we learned is courage, which is the willingness to accept the possibility of pain. That's
mm,
all courage is.
mm.
And it's a possibility. There are things that you've been scared of, Luke, and all the listeners have been scared of. And then when you did it, it was like, I remember one time my boss said, "Hey, we need to talk on Friday. I want you to come in my office." I'm scared to death. I know I'm getting fired. Okay. Or, cascaded or whatever. And I went in and he gave me a raise. I'm like, and I mean, I had fear. Okay.
Hmm.
So I looked at this situation with my father and I said I had to change. It took me 10, 15 years. But I ended up, before my father passed away, we would sit down and talk, sit down, in the room with him, and we would talk as two black men. And there's a lot of reasons, a lot of things I did to be able to get to that point, and the things I literally teach on how to get well. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just a man who's been there, done that, and have gotten to the other side.
Right.
And if it works for you or helps you, great. Okay. The listener. But this is what I've done. And I teach this from the stage on resilience and how do you bounce back? Because there's two different things you need to bounce back from, those that you know and those that you don't know.
Hmm.
So I have my keynote is resilience in the face of the known and the unknown.
Mhm.
There is something, Loot, that you will have to bounce back from that you don't even know it's happening in 3 years, 6 months, and 2 days. There's things that there are people who are going to die in my life,
Right.
period. Oh, I call transition. There are going to be financial things that probably will happen with one of my businesses.
Right.
There's going to be legal things. Except I don't do anything that I know that's a misdemeanor or a felony in the criminal world. It may be something, in the financial, but there's something. And I don't know what those are, but the ability to understand the present and then the ability to go through some steps to be able to come back from the setback.
That's wow. That's amazing. And you remind me, and like you mentioned the word serendipitous, and you'll see where I'm
Mhm,
going with
mhm,
this. Probably about a week or two ago, I received a message, I'd say a divine message, a message from God. And I was in an airport. And he said that the message that I received, I was inspired to share it right then. So I recorded it. And it said, you must go through discomfort. I laid it out like this. I said some people will understand this right off the bat. Some people will
mhm.
have to ponder it a bit, but just listen. And it's simple. You must go through discomfort to get to change, to get to success, go through whatever. So that's exactly, I'm paraphrasing right now. I can't, it slips my mind exactly what I said, but
So
basically yeah, go
I
ahead.
love this because you're talking about one of my favorite topics I like to talk about.
Right.
And the topic is grinding.
Mm,
What does it mean to grind?
mm, okay.
To grind is habitual action in pursuit of a goal, but there has to be discomfort in the grind, or it wouldn't be a grind. It'd just be a habit.
That's exactly what I said.
So when we think about, so what I do is I mentor men, and what I do is I have a topic. I meet every 3 months with my guys. I've been doing this for like 15 years, and I used to have 28 of them. I'd go back to back for 11, 12 hours a day over a 3 or 4 day period,
Wow.
but talking about one subject. And I always tell the guy, man, by the time I get to the sixth or seventh guy, I know this subject so well. But one of the things that we would do is we said, well, give us an example of a sports figure that grind. And the number one is Kobe. He's just
Oh
very,
yeah.
very famous for his grinding, being in the gym. That's discomforting. Or you can watch, some of the boxers
Right.
and running at 5 o'clock in the morning and hitting the bag for hours. There's discomfort in that, but
Right.
there's also a sense that I'm doing what the average man will not do. Okay. And yes, there's discomfort, but I'm in pursuit of the mountaintop. I'm trying to get there and I'm willing to grind. A lot of people aren't willing to grind. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I am. And I've had the results. I am a millionaire. I am a millionaire. I've earned that. This is a three-time ex-con, okay? Crack addict, pimp, drug dealer, all the stuff I did. But today, I'm just, as you look at the thing, I'm just Ken. That's what the whole book is about, becoming Ken. Not my street name, not my penitentiary name, but I'm just a humble child of God. But bro, I grind today. I work 6 days a week to make the kind of money I make. I'm cool with that. I'm 63. I do it for 2, 3 more years. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done at the things I will always do because my thing is now to give back, is to give out as opposed to, because it's really for the family. It's for my legacy. So
Yes, that's how I feel
grinding.
about this. Oh, did I cut you off?
No, 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 no. I
Okay.
just
No,
love
that's how
the
I feel
word. This
about
comes from.
what you're stating, and we're down to about
Mhm.
8 minutes
Okay.
left. But what I was going to elaborate on is I totally understand what you're talking about as far as your grinding and the behind the scenes, because even with myself, there's a lot of things I do, and I'm in no way have I, as far as business wise, accomplished where you are. But even what I do, a lot of people don't know what I do. Behind the scenes, and how my day starts. The editing I do, the hours of reading, the working 2 and 3, different careers and jobs, and retiring from this one, and I'm still going, and it's like, I share a lot of videos of my travels and things like that. And, I'm certain that I would think that some people think, oh man, what does this guy do? That's been handed to us. Like, no, 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 no. You don't see the sweat and the tears and, you know, and this is byproduct, even, and I'm so thankful that my platform is growing, but I've had questions about, hey, how did you get your platform to grow? Been doing this for years, man. And it's like developing, a name for myself, through just work, not just, yeah, just, what I'm talking about. And one of my
Yeah,
favorite
I
books,
understand.
one of
Uh,
my favorite books too is just one of them, but I read
yeah.
all the time. I read for a couple hours at least every day. But one of my favorite books, and it reminds me just how you just articulate everything, is High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. And it's just a certain set of, habits that you do. And that's the type of people in regard to a business ethic, work ethic that I like to fashion myself after. I want to see, and just like when you read the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, he studied those million and those tycoon million and billionaires and found out patterns that they all had, and none of them had anything to do with a sedentary lifestyle. I'll tell you that much. You think, oh, they just got it made. They just sit around all day. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
A lot
okay.
of it comes down to how do you define success?
Right, right.
So I just did my a week or two ago. I did my mentees, met with them, and we talked about dreams. And it's powerful because I think a lot of people misunderstand what does that mean? What is a dream?
Right.
Okay. Because what we want to do is bring the dream to fruition. So I would say something to this extent. What's your dream? Because every man I work with, that's the first question. You want to be mentored by me? What's your dream? And it's, oh, I want to make $250,000 a year. I said, that's not a dream. That's a number.
Right.
What I need for you to articulate is how will you feel and what will you do once you've reached that? You've got to paint that picture. Okay. I want you to do that. And number two, I want you to tell me what would be your self-talk when you reach that picture that you've articulated. Okay, now we have the vision, We have the self-talk. Now let's go back. What do we need to do to get there? And what that's going to entail is action connected to a plan with emotion. There's got to be emotion. You can reach a goal through fear. You can also reach a goal through love. I so love my family, my wife, my kids, that I want to get us to this point where I can send my kid to schools. I can take my family to Africa or around the world, whatever. And we painted that picture, but there has to be an emotion there. And then to get to the advanced level, I recommend faith because, again, when things get tough, you've got to be able to go back into the vision or remember the emotion or get back into the emotion, or you need to be able to go into faith. And then the top level is you, and I would recommend, but many people don't do this or don't have to, is have an accountability, either an accountability partner or a group that makes you accountable to the vision / dream. But that's the whole thing. That's a dream.
Right.
The other one's a wish.
Right.
I hope I make $1 million.
Yes.
That's a wish. There's no
Exactly.
dream.
Exactly.
Okay. So, you're right. I know you said we're short on time because I could talk. I love this. I love your questions.
No, we definitely have to have you back on here again. And we have you now have my connection, my email, and please do come back because I didn't even get into the context of your book because I see that there.
No
But
problem.
how can people, while we're here, how can they find your book? Is it on Amazon? Do you have your own site to find it? How can we find
Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
It's on Audible. So you can either one of those two sites, and there's also a digital version where I did that, wherever they do the digital books. And then if you want to get a hold of me, my email is ken@kenmillerspeaks.com. That works. And then also, and this is who I am. My phone number is 907-250-8488. And I pick up. Why do you pick up, Ken? Because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of the phone. I'm not afraid of someone calling me. And also, I believe that, God protects. So I'm protected. I'm not worried. And believe me, I've been there. I've seen a lot, and I've had a lot happen to me. So a phone call is not the thing. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick on the book. So I run a book study. I do a Black men's book study. In fact, we meet in 24 minutes.
Right.
And I do that every 2 weeks. And all we read is nonfiction books. And it's Black men having a discourse and discussion over a nonfiction book. So we're doing You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor is our book right now. And then we're doing Powernomics in July. Yep. So if there's any listeners of color, and I apologize if you're not, and it's only male, want to get in contact with me, it's free, absolutely free, and just great men from all over the country, meeting together to have, I love the word discourse.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So your book is Becoming Ken. Now find that on Amazon, everyone. Yeah. You also have your website, www.kenmillerspeaks.com.
And I have a YouTube channel also. So you can go to YouTube. You can see my podcasts, my speaking. I did 92 podcasts last year. Wow. Again, I have the capacity to do it. And I believe I have something to share because I just share my truth. I'm not afraid of my secrets because I have no secrets.
Absolutely. I'll be sure to incorporate all your links. Any links that I didn't get, please send them to me. Thank you again, Ken. Thank you, everyone, for watching and or listening. Be sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button. Share this. Help the information get out there and help the platform grow. Enlighten, Empowered, Evolve. See you soon.